Meeting to order. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I read the minutes hot off the presses. I need a motion to approve the minutes and a second.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. First order of business is Trails and Open Space, Stevens Estate Trails, Eagle Scout Project.
I'm proposing to build a bridge over on the good trail, hill trail, and it's going to be 8 feet long. I'm putting it in to prevent soil erosion and to help people prevent some mud or walk over mud. On your second page of your packet, you'll see two pictures, and they are of like trails that people have created to go around the mud, and it's just some pictures showing some erosion that's been created. On the next page are some more pictures of that when me and Jennifer originally walked this trail in November. A lot of these rocks weren't visible, and then after the heavy rain that happened, the rocks became visible, and it shows like how much erosion has been created. At the very last picture is the style of boardwalk that we're going to be using, and kind of hard to see, but we're going to be putting a bike ramp hopefully on the front of it, so bikers have easier access to the boardwalk. We're going to hopefully build it in May or April, so a little bit after the snow melts, or maybe I don't know when the snow's going to melt, but hopefully after the snow melts. It's going to cost some money. It's going to cost an excess of $800 maybe. I want to hopefully raise money by selling different items like scented candles and other stuff that I'll be making at home or with my Boy Scout troop. Any questions, I guess?
Joe? Not yet.
Okay.
So, brief addition to what you were saying. Jen wrote up some notes for me, and she stated that the existing boardwalk has deteriorated quite a lot over time, and that hikers.
One of my pictures that was in there earlier. I'm not sure. I don't think it's in the packet, but I think there's a picture of a board. I guess not.
I did see a piece of wood.
Yeah, there's literally as you walk down the trail, there's 4 or 5 pieces of completely rotted wood just lying on the ground, just. Is like in horrible disrepair.
And so hikers have been walking around and creating a muddy path and having a lot more impact than they would if they didn't have a place that they could walk on. The Friends of North Andover Trails have reviewed the project, and they recommend that it be done. And the Board of Selectmen hasn't commented on the project yet, but they are expected to.
That was the only thing I was going to mention. Did you have to get Board of Selectmen approval because it's Stevens Estate?
They're my next group to get.
Good. We're going to approve it, so I don't see any. I doubt the Board of Selectmen are going to shoot you down. They like free. So I have no questions. Deb?
So, I'm sorry. Well, just briefly, as far as recommendations go, and I can wait to give them if you wanted to speak.
I wanted to ask him a couple of questions.
Of course.
Okay. First of all, who is going to help you with this?
Friends, troop members, family, mainly.
Okay. And how long do you think it's going to take?
It shouldn't take more than 1 to 2 days. Hopefully 1. I think our longest boardwalk that my troops ever built was a 3-day project, but that was a really in-depth one. It was spanning. We had to build over an actual flowing river at the time, so that was hard.
What kind of equipment are you going to be using?
Mainly shovels and hammers and nails to get this stuff together, but we're going to get some, and then We're going to be laying gravel before we put down the boards so that it won't, hopefully the path won't erode as much. And we're going to be using the shovel to dig up a lot of the bigger rocks because we cannot put the boards down over them.
Okay, so you're going to buy the boards at a certain length?
Yes.
So you don't have to cut them or anything like that?
Exactly. I think we're going to buy them at 16 feet, so it's like 5 boards, I think that is. So it's 5 boards, so I think it's going to be a total of 10 boards that we're going to be using at.
Okay, so, and also you know that you have to be safe when you're using hammers and nails and
Yeah.
things like that. So make sure that you train the people that are going to be helping you out, that, you know, it's really important to do that. Okay, thank you.
No questions. Yeah, I'll go ahead and go last. So I'm not asking personal questions, but I used to be your troop's advancement coordinator that became the district advancement council, and then it became the council's advancement chairman. So a lot of folks wait till just before their 18th birthday and come up against the wall. But you don't look here, you're even close to 18 yet, right?
I'm
So
actually 16.
So my question was going to be, if the ground is too moist or soggy,
Yeah, I do. I guess I do have time.
you have time to
Yeah.
push it out beyond that May time in case the ground is
Yeah.
too wet. Okay,
Or in
great.
case there's still snow there.
Excellent. Why is your Life Scout badge not sewn to your pocket?
I have not received it yet. I just recently got my did my Court of Honor.
You're ambitious. Good for you. Very good. Well said.
Motion?
We doing this for an enforcement order? We
Yeah,
are, right?
yeah.
So I move that we issue a friendly enforcement order ordering this Boy Scout to complete his Eagle Scout project on time and in accordance with the presentation made after seeking approval and gaining it from the Board of Selectmen.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
I think Kayla wanted to say something.
One second,
Okay, sorry.
because I got, there's butters here to a project that's going to be continued.
Okay.
It's being continued to the 29th of October. November, I'm sorry, November.
29th of November.
Yes.
Okay. Here,
Here,
7 o'clock.
yes.
Just so you don't have to sit through.
This way you don't have to
This
sit
meeting.
through, and
Louis, thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay.
We'll be back.
Okay.
Okay.
Sit. All right, Sil,
Can I ask a question? Can
Yes.
you submit some comments?
bring them with you.
What?
Bring them with you at the
Bring
meeting.
them with me. Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Yep. Okay, so,
The Mass Ave
The
project?
recommendations were to, like you did, issue the friendly enforcement order, allow construction placement of the boardwalk, assuming no filing.
Right.
Cutting of the wood should be done outside the buffer zone, she recommended, and also that all excess material be removed from the site once the construction is completed.
So when we issue that document, all those specific conditions will be in to help you with your project, to understand what it is you need.
all right, all set.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Next one is small project, 20353, Bear Hill Road.
Okay, so this one is a proposal to remove a sunroom on the backside of a house, about 68 feet from the bordering vegetated wetland. And I have some additional photos for you. Let me just pass those around if you'd like to grab. Got it far away, sorry about that. Okay, so, yes, they're going to remove the sunroom on the back of the house. They're also planning on removing the concrete slab that it's sitting on. There is a wetland that's shown on the plan, but it's a detention basin that abuts an existing wetland. Jen wanted to mention that you have considered the basins jurisdictional on adjacent lots in the past. Nothing new is going to be constructed in its place. She wasn't sure what kind of machinery would be used. It's a question that came up for her. And so these are the
jackhammer for the concrete, and we have a construction company that's going to basically demolish the whole thing, and we just had to get the, what do you call it, the,
Permit?
no, and we're going to put it in the driveway.
Dumpster.
The dumpster, he wanted a 3-yard dumpster, right?
Wait, the 3-yard dumpster, you said?
Yeah, he said it's about 4 to 5 inches of concrete that they need to jackhammer.
Sean?
Questions?
Joe?
No, pretty straightforward. When you break the concrete out, you were just going to expand your garden area or lawn area?
Yeah, we're just gonna add grass to it. So right now, the structure itself is leaking, and the wood that the glass panes sit on is all rotted. So when we had estimates come out to replace the wood and stuff, they couldn't guarantee it wouldn't leak in the future, so we said we're just gonna demolish the whole thing.
Okay.
Deb? No questions.
Doug, no questions.
Motion?
I move that we grant the small project request for NACC number 203. I don't know if we have a subsection that it's under, but...
Small project L.
Oh, L, good, thank you. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous.
And do we need any conditions for this?
Just the pre and post.
Okay.
That's what she usually does.
Jen did have a couple recommendations, if you'd like me to share them.
Sure.
Okay, great. The small project L, all materials will be placed in a dumpster in the driveway. Should probably already discuss these with you. Erosion control if equipment is used, but you're only using a jackhammer. And post-construction inspection condition, which means that you would be contacting the Conservation Department, letting us know when you're done, so that we can send someone out and take a look.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, you just have to approve, one approve, right?
You made the single motion that took care of both the type
Well, I
and
mean,
the approval.
The second one's right.
Yeah,
We'll
you
call
did
it that
both.
way.
You did it both.
Make a second motion.
Okay. Next one is 62 Farnum Street.
To the request for determination of applicability. Would you all like to see the plan up? Most, is that going to work for you? Is it big enough? Let me know if these aren't big enough for you. I know I had trouble seeing
It's
them
good to
myself.
put it up, not so much for us, but for the folks at home, because they pick up that feed.
Sure, okay. Well, let me know if it looks okay to you, and if you want an adjustment, just let me know. So this is a proposal for septic repair. The wetland delineation has been confirmed. Now, it's mostly outside the 100-foot buffer zone to the bordering vegetated wetland. And in fact, the proposal is for the front of the house. The wetland is to the far back, and only about 10 feet of that 100-foot buffer zone will be touched during the construction, and that's as part of the grading. Besides that, there was a little bit of minor brush dumping that was noted during the site. It wasn't concern enough to request removal of the material, but enough to bring up that there shouldn't be no more brush dumping going forward.
Thank you. My name is Gordon Rogerson, and I'm with Hayes Engineering out of Wakefield, Mass. And as she says, we are repairing a failed septic system on this property. The existing septic system is actually over to the right side of the house, and half of the system is within the 50-foot, 100-foot buffer zone, and the other half is out. Now, what we've done some soil testing and just redesigned the septic system to be more than 100 feet from the bordering vegetated wetlands. There is some grading going on, which is indicated here in the green. It's about 160 square feet of regrading. In the application, it said that we're proposing to replace the septic tank also, but that's incorrect. We're going to use the existing septic tank and not touch it. So all we're going to do is replumb the inside a little bit and use the same injector to go up to the new septic system. So basically, the whole thing is more than 10 feet outside the buffer zone and just some minor grading within the buffer zone.
Sean?
Kales, 25 registered being adhered to?
Yep, they're way outside that.
All right. No, I understand that, but
yeah,
clearing within 25 feet of the wetland?
Yep, and I've got a plan some photos to pass around. There is a fence at about the 25-foot So they're not disturbing that area at all, except for a little bit of brush dumping that I mentioned that
That's
doesn't
gonna
seem
be
when she was out
removed,
there.
correct?
Hmm?
If you were to condition to be removed.
Okay.
That's what we usually do.
Yeah, and then no more dumping in the future.
Yep, okay.
Well, I think she put wetland markers down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No wetland markers.
Yep,
Any
it
more
was-
questions, Sean?
Nope.
Joe?
No, I have no questions.
I have a couple. Normally, on a project like this, we have construction access and a stockpiling area. I don't see that on the plan.
The access is going to be coming in off of Farnum Street and using the existing driveway itself.
Okay.
We're going to try and maintain everything outside the 100-foot buffer zone. Stockpiling will either be to the right of the driveway where it's more than 100 feet away, and whatever sand is brought in is just going to be dumped right into the hole. So there's not going to be any stockpiling of a lot of material. Probably the only stockpiling would be some of the topsoil, if there's much topsoil to be saved. There wasn't much in the test pits that we found, about 3 or 4 inches of it before. And it'd probably get mixed up with the subsoil and put back over the top of the system after it's completed and installed.
Still make a note of that we'll condition that on the pre-construction, that where the stockpile will be and where the construction is. I can see the construction now. Yep. No question. Doug?
I mean, just clarification, I think I know the answer. The existing leach field is just being abandoned in place, you're not taking it up?
That is correct.
Okay.
No, we're not going to touch the existing system.
Okay.
Okay, need a motion?
So I guess we move that we issue a negative determination with conditions so stated, allowing the work to move forward.
And just to review, what are those conditions?
Well, Jen had recommended that, be a -3, that there be no stockpiling in the buffer zone, that wetland markers be placed at the 25-foot no disturb, and there be a post-construction inspection.
Okay.
And the removal of the brush dumping.
Second.
All those-
Sorry, I don't want to fit anybody here.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. All set?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next one is 1740 Turnpike Street.
Okay. So this is a proposal at the old Girl Scout headquarters on 1740 Turnpike Street. They're planning to abandon the septic system and connect to sewer. They're also going to be relocating the water service. The parking lot is planned to be repaved, and the wetland line has been confirmed. Jen and I have both been out on site and are good with that wetland delineation. And there are no stormwater management structures on site, no catch basins, anything like that. We noted that the drainage appears to sheet flow off the parking lot to the southeast. One thing that came up, and it's being addressed tonight, is that there were notes on the building permit that they've received to repair egresses on the, that are located on the back of the structure. And there is, that hadn't been presented on the plan that we had. So I reached out to the engineering firm, and they are presenting the plan with the egresses tonight, and that will include some additional, or require some additional erosion controls and things like that, which I'm assuming are also on the plan. Okay, great. And that's about what I got. I've got some recommendations. I'll wait on those unless you want them now.
Sean, you have any questions?
Not at this point, no.
Joe?
No, not at this point.
Okay.
Will this updated map be provided?
Yes, I have additional copies. The only, no, Rich Williams from Williamson's Progress. The only change is that, and we didn't realize it, but there are some stairways out there, and if you've looked at them, they're in pretty bad disrepair. There are a couple that are being repaired, and one new stairway that's going back here. I don't think that the updated plan that I've got here has those on there. I don't think that there's going to be any substantial work out there. If I added a note to the plan saying that if there are additional footings needed, that we'll have to put erosion controls around that. Other than that, I think the work is taking the wood off and putting new wood on those stairways because there are footings that already exist on the stairways that are there.
And what's the distance, the closest distance to a wetland as far as any of those means of egress?
It's pretty close. It might be 20 feet, but all within the existing, lawn that's back there.
Is it within the existing footprint for the current means of egress, or is it larger than the current means of egress?
The close ones, they'll be the same footprint. The new one is further away from the wetland. It's about 50 feet. So
It's further away.
It's further away, but it is a new footprint.
And the egress in that instance is just a landing at a ground level door, or does that include the stairway?
It's a landing with, I think it's 2 steps, but we're removing an equal sized stairway that's closer to the wetland.
The only reason I say that is because you say it's about 50 feet. So if there's any portion of the structure, it can't get within 50 feet.
Oh, wait, especially, even though you're removing something that is closer than 50 feet, we'd still like to get it at this point outside the 50 if it's possible.
It is not possible because this is the back of the building. This is the 50-foot buffer. The whole building is beyond that.
Gotcha.
And they have certain distances within the building. They can't have more than 75-foot run before they have an exit, and that's the reason for this. It's an emergency type exit to meet the building code.
So the Girl Scouts have totally vacated the building at this point?
Yes.
And there's a new occupant coming in?
Yes.
Is it going to change the use of that back area at all in any way?
No.
It's going to change the use of the building.
It is, yes.
How so? Are we going to see more people walking? I mean, how's the building going to be used, and how will it affect the wetlands, if at all?
Well, it's going to be an office-type use.
Yep.
So it should be, I mean, it's a different use because it's not an office building now. The only thing that I can say is maybe they get more use out of that patio. There's a patio there that is, there's weeds growing through it. And there might be a situation where they put a table out there and sit out there and have lunch. But other than that, I think it should be the same. And it's important to remind the board that the purpose of this really is to fix that septic system. There's a failed septic system, and we want to tie into the sewer and get rid of the septic system that's failed and within the buffer zone at this point.
Well, I understand the principal purpose, but because of the discussion of a building permit pending and the discussion leading to, we sign off on the building permits, our department
Right,
does.
of course.
And because there's an activity, some sort of construction alteration activity at the rear of it becomes a conversation here.
Right,
In
right.
reality, I
yes.
think it is germane for us to understand, do they in their own mind have ideas or intentions, or maybe it's just an outright prohibition in our negative determination that simply says no physical alteration to the rear yard area.
Oh, and I think that would be unacceptable.
And that way, they're going in with their eyes open wide.
That's right.
Yeah.
And are there currently any markers out there? to the wetlands?
Well, it's flagged, there aren't markers out there, no.
It's something we should, now it's going to be used with occupants. It's going to be good to monument that. Okay, I don't have any other questions at this point.
I'm now seeing for the first time like buckets in the back of this, in TVs, illegal dumping probably, right?
Well, it's not the wetlands, but yes, we did find a whole bunch of trash in the back there, as you can see in the photos, and that would need to be removed.
So obviously, the sooner the building gets occupied, the less of an opportunity that people get to illegally dispose stuff on private property. I say buckets and buckets of stuff that looks nasty.
I don't have any other questions.
Is there going to be any improvement to the pavement in the front?
Well, I'm not sure if they're going to repave the whole parking lot, but they'll be digging it up to put these new services in. So they're going to have to repair this section at least. I don't know of any other plans on that pavement.
Because some of the pavement is in the 50. We allow that, but it'd be nice to know if you're going to dig it up. They're going to dig up the whole parking lot.
This conversation has a chance of wiggling and wandering around and beyond what it is you're asking for. The reality is we see this is a sewer project. And we're hearing there are other possibilities. So by virtue of whatever we do here is not permission to repave the parking lot. That's a separate filing.
It's not carte blanche, I understand.
Yeah, all right, I just want to make sure that you know that. So, yeah, this is a trench repair and a trench repair only because that's what's before us.
Correct.
So make a note of that it's strictly a sewer repair or sewer installation. Okay, Deb?
I noted that there were tanks in the back of the building. What are those?
The photographs show the propane.
So, yeah,
propane tanks.
so will those,
That's the heat.
okay.
I'm not sure, but I would guess that they're going to stay.
Okay.
Because they don't have any plans that I'm aware of to tie into gas. I don't know if there's gas out there.
I don't think there's gas out there.
No.
Okay.
There isn't gas out there.
Okay, and then in addition
No,
to,
what's his name, Benny?
to
I don't
Sean's,
think there is gas.
okay, to Sean's requirement of the wetland markers at the existing tree line, there should be no stockpile, there should be no snow stockpiling signs as well. And also, the dumped materials should be removed, and no dumping in the future for any of that stuff. Okay, and that's it.
Done?
No questions.
Motion?
Be careful how we craft this. So we move that we issue a negative determination with regards to the installation of the sewer, the new sewer pipe in the abandonment of this old septic system. And that any alteration to the egress stairways in the back of the building be confined to the existing footprint of that is already there, and that no other alterations within the 100-foot buffer zone of any sort, including paving a parking lot or any other alteration around the building, be permitted by this determination.
A slight change is one of those means of egress
There's
is
one
being
new-
moved further from the wetland, although it's going to be in the same size as it currently is. So that's one little caveat.
The one in that corner.
There's one new one.
It's not a new one, it's just moving an existing one, right?
Right.
We'll clean up that language with it. That was the intent of my motion, yes. Thank you.
We have a motion and a
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next one is 461 Summer Street.
Okay, so, commissioners, oh, thank you very much. The commissioners were presented with this project at the last meeting. Jen had gone by the site and noticed that there was some activity going on. And when she went on site, she found that they were relocating a shed without, can you just let me finish? You can let me, okay. A shed, well, this is what she told me, and just let me finish, okay? If I make some mistakes, please.
This is what Jen has reported to you.
This is what Jen has reported to me. Jen noticed the work. She saw that a shed had been installed without approval. An old shed had been removed, and the new shed had been moved to, and I have a plan here that they use their old septic as built to create a template for the location. So they had moved built an existing shed closer to the wetland than the pre-existing shed had been, and basically just turned a kitty corner, as you can see in the image. We had not reviewed it because they did not request a building permit or an electrical permit, and they still don't have those. In 2009, they had requested and received permission to remove one hazard tree in the bordering vegetated wetland and a dead tree in the 25-foot no disturb zone. They had also asked for permission to remove a red maple in the no disturb zone, and that was denied. Since that time, the maple has been built onto to create kind of a tree house and play structure on that same tree. The no disturb zone was cleared in 2009. Jennifer, one of the homeowners, stated that she thought the area had been lawn in the past and had been overgrown prior to purchasing it, so they cleared the area and added a lawn. After the last meeting, Jen took me out to the site to review it prior to the meeting, and we both noted that there is a black chain link fence that was not discussed at the previous meeting. There had been a discussion about a tree falling on a wooden fence that was in bad shape, and they replaced it with a vinyl fence. This is an additional fence. It's a chain link fence that runs toward the back of the property, and I have some images of that to show you. It goes right up to the edge of the wetland and through the 25-foot no disturb. That was installed in 2013, and it goes around the area that was clear in 2009. So I can show some photos to you. Anyway, the proposal is to enlarge the existing pool decking by about 500 square feet, and that's in the no disturb, the 25-foot no disturb zone. There's also a proposal to install some paver stones in the no disturb that will go to the shed, and I have some pictures of the location now. Okay, that's the chain link fence, and do you have those photos with you? I can pass them along. Okay. And you can also see the play structure on the red maple that is that had previously been denied removal permission. And below that, there's the new shed.
It's just turned, I know, it's a pool pump and everything is in
That's
there.
the pump, everything is in there.
Yeah.
We did turn it when we installed the new one several years ago, yes.
John?
Yep.
Well, do you guys have any?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to kind of, address a couple of the questions you had presented to us when we spoke here a couple of weeks ago. So we had outlined in C2A, the work description, we made some clarifications there about what the expansion of the patio is going to be. When we first proposed the expansion, we did have some of that patio crossing into the 20-foot do not disturb zone. 25 foot. So following your recommendation, we amended the dimensions of the patio to pull it all within the 50-foot zone, and that's addressed on the map. We made the change on the map. It's reflected there as well as in the work description. So the area that was of concern was the area towards the back, facing the wetlands. I'm sorry, I have a terrible cold. And we've now changed that. It was 4 feet, and now we're only proposing to expand that to 7. The 4 feet that it is just not safe. It's too narrow. It's just really difficult when our children and their friends are all playing around the pool. So instead of the 10 feet we had initially proposed, we just want to bring that down to 7. I know that was the area of primary concern when we spoke a couple weeks ago. In addition, you had some suggestions about remediation for the movement of the shed, and we worked with Jen on that, and she suggested some wetland-friendly bushes be planted along the fence area, around that black chain link fence area, some dogwood, high bush blueberry, and she had a couple other great recommendations that we could put there. In addition, the third area that was of concern was the area stretching from the patio to the shed. Initially, we had proposed expanding, doing a patio walkway there, but because that does extend into the 25-foot zone, it was recommended that we do large stones instead, just to create a very subtle walkway from the patio to the shed, and that's reflected on the revision of the proposal as well.
Yeah, I think it's important to note, too, that when Jen originally made her visit, she came out because we're doing the patio work. We're not rebuilding the shed. The shed's been there for a few years. So.
And I wasn't at the last meeting, so I'm kind of catching up on
Yeah, sure.
everything at once. And so I apologize for
Yeah,
that.
no
But so the shed was moved by like one corner stayed the same, but it was moved
Yeah,
to
so
accommodate
that's the way to look at it. Yeah,
some
the corner,
equipment, right?
where the corner was, the filter and all the electrical was in one corner, and we pivoted it within there as to not.
It was just it was straight in the yard. The placement of it didn't make a lot of sense. It cut off the rest of the yard, and with, you know, kids racing around playing all the time, it just didn't feel like a logical placement of the shed.
So, and what brought you in front of us was the increasing the patio of the pool?
Correct.
Correct.
The patio that was there was
Poured
falling. It's poured concrete in very poor condition. It has been since we bought the home. The pool's extremely old. And as far as we know, it's the existing poured concrete. It's cracked and just very unsafe when children are running around the pool. So we're at the point where that absolutely has to be repaired in some way, and as part of that, we were hoping to expand it just to bring the patio up to more modern code, and more modern size, I should say, not code, to the point where we feel everybody can safely enjoy the pool and play without danger of somebody falling in.
Yeah. And the other things, other than moving the shed, you put in pavers between the shed and the pool?
Yes,
is that
that's what
right?
we'd like to, just to make it easier to walk between the two, and when your feet are wet.
Any other changes that you, that we found out there, other than those two things?
This is now, it reflects, there were things that we had not included, which, you know, we're kind of learning as we go through this process, so everything is now reflected.
Yep. And tell me a little bit about the fencing situation?
So the fencing situation, so as you know, Summer Street is a very busy road, and we have 3 young children. We're close to the road, and we had to also, there's 2 issues we were trying to address. One was the busy road, and one was that you could access our pool directly from the house. And so we were concerned our children were going to end up in the pool or the road. So we ended up putting the chain link fence up that that blocks, as you can see on the drawing there, that blocks the children from being able to go from the backyard to the road or off into the woods in the wetlands there. It keeps them within the backyard. But in doing that, it also opened up enough. There was a fence that cut through the middle of the yard. By removing that, it opened up enough space where we're able to put a safety temporary fence around the pool so that the kids no longer can access the pool from any point within the house.
Was there other fencing along where the wetland is that you took down?
No. Any of the existing fencing you see reflected on the document is, there's a white fence there that is just a replacement of a wooden fence that was there. It was put in the exact same spot. And that has not changed.
So the fencing that's down by, let's say it kind of goes along the edges of the wetland, that was
not
existing
there.
chain link?
That's chain link that we installed for the safety of our children, correct? Yes.
Was there any fencing along that back
There was
area
not.
before?
There wasn't.
Even though there was a pool there?
So instead the fence went from the corner of the shed right up to the side of the deck.
Yep.
And so then there was no fencing on the other part, the grassy area.
Gotcha. So that was all open
And
lawn.
we couldn't properly put a safety fence around the pool with it set up the way that it was. So when that came down, we used that opportunity to properly enclose in the play area.
Right. Well, on that one, you should definitely come in front of us.
Which we know now,
Yeah,
yes.
we-
Sorry about that.
You know, tilting a shed a little bit and maybe some pavers, but that, I think that gets there a little bit. So, so as far as what you want to do now is, and this is, you haven't made the renovations to the area around the pool yet, correct?
We have not. So we began that and we stopped where everything is now exactly as it was.
Yeah.
And I just want to also, one other thing I forgot to mention, just during the course of construction, we will install some silk sock along the wetlands border to make sure that there's no issues there. And then any dirt that has to be moved, there's this corner in the front yard that is outside the 100-foot zone. If there is dirt that has to be moved, it will be placed there and hauled off site if it doesn't go back in the existing location.
Are there any wetland markers back there along your
There are
fence or
not.
anything?
None.
So you just want to make, at least as far as the area of the patio closest to the wetland, you want to increase it in size from about 4 feet to 7 feet?
Yes, correct.
And is it flat when you come off the patio? Is it
Correct.
just grass?
Yes, there's no grading necessary.
I don't have any other questions.
Joe, come back to me, I'm trying to look at it.
Did you talk to the contractor about the old concrete?
We did. Unfortunately, if we change plans, it's beyond our budget, and there's nothing we can do. So
We talked
this
to a
is
lot
really
of
the only financial option for us,
That's to overpour it.
is to go over it. And so to ease our own concerns, because we were very nervous after,
we left,
speaking,
last
we
time.
went and looked at some other homes that have done this, and it appears as though our contractors had success with it in the past.
Yeah, we did some research online as well, and,
Yeah,
you know,
so-
there's arguments to both sides of it as
Right.
far as,
We feel that this is our only option.
Well, you financially, you have to do, I hate putting new on old. Okay. You shrunk the patio like we asked. The shed was a non-issue because you really couldn't move it. The fence you put up. No, I don't have any questions. Deb?
And then you're going to put the wetland markers up
Yes,
Yeah.
how do we get those?
from the office.
Okay.
Okay, yes,
You can-
yeah,
absolutely.
we'll gladly do that.
And then in the order of conditions, they'll tell you how many markers
Okay.
and where to put them.
Okay.
That'd be great.
And I'm sorry that you're sick, but you have done an excellent narrative.
Oh,
Let me tell you, you should be very proud of
I am
your
proud of
wife.
her.
You
Thank you.
really should, because she's fabulous.
Thank
And I
you so
know it's
much.
going to, moving forward, it's going to go right. And
That means a lot.
I hope you learned a lot.
Yeah,
We have.
we have learned a lot, yes,
Okay.
absolutely, and we appreciate you listening and your recommendations and everything.
And take care of those children.
I know.
Because I know Summer Street is kind of busy.
It is
Yeah.
a busy road, it frustrates us, but we love our house, we love our property, and we love the woods behind our home, that's why we're there, so,
Well,
yeah.
good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Doug?
No question. So I'm reading Jen's recommendations and Cale's recommendations, and they don't disagree. They're pretty much in line with each other. But in the context of what we heard, I'm not certain if we're picking up all of the things that were being recommended. That's particularly with regards to the decision of whether we leave a fence or take the fence out.
What Jen said to me was that she wasn't sure if you would want to have them move the new fence. The fence there had been about, like if you can see in the photos that I gave you. Yeah, they cleared an area past this original photo from what Jen stated, about 30 feet, which goes, so they cleared the 25-foot no disturb all the way up to the wetland, and then put the fence along the wetland around the back. That's where that chain link.
Well, if I could
Yes.
just clarify the situation there a little bit. When we bought the house, we bought it from the homeowners who built it in the 60s. We bought it from a couple that was very old and very frail. And the reason why that's relevant is because we bought a house that had not been properly maintained in many, many years.
Right.
Everything about the house was in disrepair, and I'll spare you the laundry list, but part of that also was the yard. And the previous homeowners had stopped mowing a good part of the yard, not just towards the wetlands, but we couldn't even walk from our front
the
yard
sides
to the
of the house.
backyard because they stopped mowing in between. I don't know why. So we had to, we weren't expanding the yard in any way. There were no bushes that we removed, no wetland plants. It was, when you let grass go too long and it becomes just that weedy mess, that's what we had everywhere, including
image,
around the
yeah,
tree.
And that image there, you can see in the left corner there is
But you
that.
guys said you bought it in 2009, right?
Right.
Correct.
So I'm looking at aerial photography, welcome to Big Brother. We have aerial photography going back decades.
Yeah.
And from April of 2008, the old frail people didn't do anything.
Yeah.
But sometime between 2008 and the time you bought it, up until an aerial photograph taken by satellite just this past April,
Yeah.
you can see that that fence is closer to the wetland and that it was mowed, which is something that's not allowed. And I think that's the crux of Jen's question is, should the fence be moved? That should not be any closer
The
than 25.
chain link fence?
It should be the new white fence.
No,
We
that's,
didn't
no,
move
no,
the
no.
white fence,
The whi-
though.
the white fence is the one we replaced.
Yeah, we had that installed
That-
where it was.
Well, where's one, again, I'm trying to sort this, so there's, across the back up to the shed.
Yeah.
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 There's a new white fence.
Right,
Correct.
so that fence, so back when we bought the home, there was
Yeah.
an old wooden fence in that footprint.
Correct.
And it was falling down, it was wet and rotted.
But not from what I'm seeing in aerial photography.
We didn't move the fence. It's in
I-
the same footprint.
I can see it. I can see that it is.
We added that fence. That was not there. That is all new. So
The fence that was
Jen
there
hasn't
was,
expressed any concern to us about the white fence. I'm not sure.
That's the old one. Oh, that's what's,
That's right along the wetland line.
Hadn't
Jen's comment
really- Yeah, okay.
is specific to raise the issue on the fence, and it's up to us whether we want it moved or not. What I'm suggesting, I think I see, and maybe we can do a little more reconnaissance and measurements from these aerial photographs. Visually speaking, proportion from the edge of the pool apron that I can see to where the fence was in 2008, to the edge of the apron in this past April to where the new fence is, it's substantially closer, at least 5 feet closer to the wetland than it was in 2008. So Jen's question is, it looks like it is closer. I would agree with that. And she's asking, should we consider asking them to move it back where it was? And if that's the case, to put it at the 25. And I think I agree with
He
her.
estimated it was about 30 feet.
I don't know
This-
what that
this is
30 feet
very-
is
Yeah.
number. I don't know what you're talking about. 30 feet? I'm sorry.
I think she's referring to this area.
I'm
that
not sure
was
what you're
not-
referring
I'm
to.
just
Well, it's the
referring
same
to
area.
the note.
It is-
that
We
There's no
we
shed.
don't have
There's
30
the
feet
shed.
to work with. There's this Mosquito Brook is right there.
if
We
would've-
have not
if we
moved
would've
the yard 30
If we would have
feet.
moved the white fence, so we put it in that exact footprint, that
Yeah.
white fence, and you can see on some of the pictures where that fence was. And that fence has not moved. If we were to move that 25 feet, it would be against our
there's a drop
pool
off.
almost. It would be, because the 7 feet from the edge of the pool brings us right to about 28 feet
And you
from
can't
the
move that
wetland
fence
zone.
When did the white
back.
fence get put in? When
The
did that?
white fence?
Yeah.
Probably 6 years ago or so.
Yeah.
All right, so
And there's a cliff, the ground just drops off.
Yeah,
It is not, if you were to look
yeah.
at it, there's a big pipe where the brook travels through under the street, and the pipe opens up right behind that fence. It is not possible to move that fence.
She wasn't talking about the white fence, she was talking about
The
the
chain
chain link
And
area.
the chain link fence,
That you see in the.
Chain- which is
in
beyond
that
the
you see in
shed?
Area. Yeah,
but I'm
just
looking
strictly
at
the
that
black
white
fence
fence,
area
clearly,
that you're looking at in
to
the
that.
aerial.
Yeah, I think,
exactly, I'm
Yes,
seeing that
chain
too.
link.
I'm seeing that too. That's over this way, coming up.
I'm
And the
just not
jars.
sure if that's white fence. It looks white, but is that chain link?
No, that's this white fence
Is
that
that
comes
white fence?
comes down, turns, and comes up across. Comes down and comes across.
Says it right here. Chain link fence. I think that's-
So does the chain link run into the white fence?
correct, it connects
at a
into the back of the
90 degree
shed.
angle right
Behind
there?
the shed,
The
behind the
shed.
shed.
Behind the shed.
Yeah, it connects to the
Right.
shed.
It's right to the back
Yep.
corner of the shed.
Yep.
And this is the white
And that's
fence.
back-
that goes up.
And you're saying this white
That's back
fence area hasn't moved?
So it was a
No.
wooden fence, and it fell down, and we replaced it in that
One
footprint
in the
Yep.
play
with the white
area.
fence.
Our administrator is so dedicated, she is actually watching this streaming from Iceland
From Iceland.
And she's
and
texting me.
commenting on exactly what
Wow.
we're talking about. And for the record, it's after midnight in Iceland.
That's dedication.
Not about the shit show.
So let's see what, it's rather than interpreting what Jen says, let's see what she really meant.
The black fence in the back.
The chain link.
The chain link.
Fence.
So what they did is when they, I think the point is when they took down, added the black fence, instead of just continuing in the same line as the white fence, they took a left 90 degrees, took another 30 feet in, and went down that way. So you've got this area here that we would ordinarily say should have remained vegetated.
Can we provide some clarity on that 30 feet that
Sure.
that we're talking about here? If you actually look back, if you don't mind, there were some pictures that you had back in, I think it was 2009, that were taken when Jen came out. Can we go back to some of those other pictures?
You want to see the photos from
Yeah, from
The
2000.
one you can see the tree that has the play structure on it.
That was past April's photo.
Yeah, the one down on the bottom left.
Yeah.
That's the.
No, not that one.
We'll go
The
down
one
one
down.
more, where it says 2009.
Okay, so this is what's
No, not that one.
there
Yep,
now.
so
This
that's-
is the
Yep.
play structure on the tree that the commission
And you can see the
wanted
tree in the, I'm
made.
sorry, can you go back to that one more time?
These are the ones that you wanted to?
Yes,
Yeah.
so that's where you can see the tree in the back. So you can see there's that tree back there, that's where all the way on the left, that's where the zip line finishes. You
Yeah,
can see
the-
that's exactly,
the
the
left.
fence is
The
directly
grass goes all
behind
the
that
way there.
tree. If you were to walk the property, the fence corners behind that tree in the back left on that picture.
And you can see it's all grass there.
It's all grass.
In 2009. So we haven't expanded it, we have not expanded it 30 feet. We haven't expanded it at all. We put the fence in the
We
existing
mow
edge.
it. We mow it so our kids can play. Around the tree where the play structure is, it was long, and, maybe we should have left that, but, we do mow it so they can get in their tree house, but you can tell by that tree in the back left corner, looking between 2009 and today, that we have not expanded the yard.
Yeah, I can see that. I think what's giving me a different perspective is that the old shed was at an angle.
Right.
The new one went in square,
Right.
and now we're proposing to rotate it again to get it back out.
The shed?
No, shit's been moved.
No, we don't want to move the shed. The shed's already been moved. That would happened years ago. We're hoping to just,
So what's the significance of the 2009 photo?
So that's when we.
when we had a bunch of tree work done.
Okay.
So Jen came out and surveyed the area. We had some trees that were overhanging the house, and then we were going to have a tree in the backyard cut down. We didn't do that. Instead, we had the ones overhanging the house cut down. That's why Jen was there.
Because to me, it seems like the important date is what was there when you moved.
Right.
Well, the more important date,
Yeah.
because the essential thing is trying to stay 25 feet from the wetland. But,
Yeah.
but from, an important date is when you moved in and what the conditions were versus they are today.
Right.
More than the 2009
Right.
tree.
This is, yeah, it's 2008.
I mean, there's plenty of photos online from
Yeah.
when we bought the
The
house. You
listing?
can look and see the yard from the listing. And
2008.
I mean, if you want to take a look at that, feel free. We feel very confident with what we're saying.
Which photos are?
The photos that you're looking at right now, these are from the list.
Those are from the list?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, they're not from the tree.
Yeah, 2009.
Yeah, so that's from when we left with the packet. And
Yeah.
I think what's adding to my confusion is the plan that's before us,
it's the
I was
patio.
thinking was what's currently being proposed, and part of it is, but only relative to the apron.
Correct.
The shed that's shown turned at an angle, I'm noticing on the stamp, that was what, from a
That was already
position
done.
from 2008.
Yeah. Correct.
Got it.
Yes.
And that behind that, the fence went out and across the back, and now it's still doing that today.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got it. I'm all set.
Okay, motion?
Jen say anything?
Yeah, she went to see, I told her to go find it. Yeah, someone said.
Do you want me to go over Jen's recommendations?
No, we're all set. It's 1 o'clock in the morning in Iceland. She's
Tell her to go to
texting me.
bed.
I did.
Thank you, Jen.
Okay, so we need a motion.
Want me to read it verbatim?
Probably the best way to do it.
Probably the best.
With the exception of the
Modified,
recommendation of the
right.
fence.
Right, so I'll skip the if you are satisfied with the proposal part. So I move that we issue a -3 with conditions for erosion controls, compost or bark mulch socks, pre- and post-construction inspections with the patio staked at the pre-construction, and a requirement for plantings and wetland markers to establish a no disturbance zone, the width which we have to determine. So I think it should be, well, it's along the fence.
Along the existing fence
As
line.
it currently exists.
Is it along the existing fence line?
And the plantings will be monitored for 1 year.
The wetland markers should be installed in front of the plantings.
Or on the
Or
fence.
on the
On the
fence.
fence.
On the fence.
Yep.
And the number to be determined by the
Yeah.
agent.
Second.
I stand.
Anything, Kale, that you think we should add that we didn't?
Well, just, Jen had some more specifics. Well, of course, erosion control with a compost or bark mulch socks, pre- and post-construction inspections. To determine, I
just read that.
did she
Did
want
we
you
have
to, I
that?
know, but did you want to determine that in the meeting or not?
No, I
I'm not
think
sure.
determination is along the fence.
Well, there was to establish a no disturbance zone, and there isn't an area for a no disturbance zone because the fence is along the wetland, so it would need, if there was going to be a no disturbance zone, it would need to be within the fence.
Yeah, so we're
And-
not going
and
to, by
that's what-
virtue of where we're going to put the monuments on the fence,
Well,
we've
she
simply agreed that that's now
Okay.
the limit.
Well, she suggested that markers be placed on 4x4 posts in front of the planting. That
she
would be
can-
marking a new
She
no
can determine
disturbance.
that at the pre-construction meeting.
What's that?
She can determine that at the pre-construction
Okay,
meeting.
I'm just passing along
Yeah.
the sheets.
Where are the plantings going, inside the fence or on the
Yeah,
outside?
inside.
Inside the fence, yeah. Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yep.
Get them on a post.
Yeah.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
And the only citation is that you've substituted a plan for this evening's discussion, which differs from the one we had at the last meeting. So this is the plan of record,
This is the plan.
Yeah.
Correct.
which gives you the 7-foot apron across the back
Yes.
instead of
That's
the
right.
4-foot.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we had talked about that at the last meeting
Yes,
anyway.
we
did, yeah.
That was your recommendation. Yeah.
Okay?
All
All
right.
set.
Second.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Appreciate your time.
The next three don't have DEP numbers there.
No, we're missing, Mass Ave had requested to continue.
Yeah, but that's, I know, I'm moving on to that.
Oh, sure.
We got Kelsey Lane, Boxford Street, and Campbell Road.
Yeah,
They don't have
their
numbers.
DEP files.
So Mark, if you would be so kind, because we have a full agenda, just give if you want to, just give a brief narrative, and then we're going to continue.
Hey, Louis, just earlier, you noticed, you recognized about us here earlier, but you didn't say which one we were continuing.
Mass Ave is being continued to November 29th. The first one is, now the next one we have is 242, no DP numbers, Lot 2 and 3, Kelsey Lane.
Good evening. Ben Osgood, Ranger Engineering and Design, LLC, here representing Belford Construction, Mark Ray. You know, we did submit the plans to DEP, and they received them on the 6th. They have the green card, but they haven't issued a number, obviously. I'd just like to go over this real quick. This is a buffer zone only filing, so I'll just review it real quickly. We have 2 lots here that were approved by the planning board, called Kelsey Lane. They were approved in 2009 under a definitive plan, and when they approved it, there's a cul-de-sac bulb that was created, but they waived the construction of a full subdivision roadway, so they've approved it with driveways in these locations on that definitive plan. So we've submitted that definitive plan as actually one of our record plans to kind of memorialize what they've approved, combined with the Conservation Commission. There's 2 lots. Lots 2 and 3, there was another parcel here that was added to a property over on Spring Hill Road. It's not included, but it is on the definitive plan if you look at that plan. So we're here looking for permits for lots 2 and lot 3. We have wetland resource areas. There's an isolated wetland here. Obviously, it's not state jurisdictional, but it is a local jurisdictional wetland. I've highlighted the 25-foot no build, the 25-foot no disturb, 50-foot no build. We're 55 feet at the closest point to that wetland with some of the grading associated with the driveway and some rain gardens. The other wetland is over here to the north. It's on the adjacent property. There's flagging here. This flagging was all done in conjunction with an application on the adjacent property. Somebody's building a garage. I think it's for a property that's on Summer Street, but he's building a secondary structure here. It's under construction now. There's a vernal pool associated with that, so that increases your offsets. There's a 50-foot no disturb, a 75-foot no build, and we're 51 feet, and we're 85 feet with the house. So it's a buffer zone project that meets your requirements. The driveway grading all grades down into 2 rain gardens. Those were a planning board condition, part of their stormwater management. So those are all detailed on the definitive plans. We haven't reproduced those details here. We've just submitted copies of those plans as part of our proposal to be incorporated into the order of conditions. So, I mean, that's it in a real quick nutshell. I think it's pretty simple. Obviously, you have the siltation fence or silt sock, whichever they choose to use, around the buffer zone, around the limit of work. There's infiltration areas, the gutters are going into dry wells so that the roof runoff will be infiltrated. It's 2 lots. It's actually exempt from stormwater management, so it's a simple buffer zone project.
Thank you. Sean?
It all sounds fine. I'm just looking at one note here, saying that the O&M plan has been submitted concerning the rain gardens, and Jen was hoping that you could see something a little bit more meaty, I guess.
They did submit something a little more detailed. It should be in your packets.
Like I said,
Look.
Yeah.
You have a buddy, Mr. D'Angelo. Did you want to comment on this project?
No, I just wanted to see what it was, because I know there's a cul-de-sac.
This is the guy building the clubhouse.
That's what we thought. Accessory structure. I know that the cul-de-sac is in a 2 floors, so I didn't know, but a lot of the things that Mr. Ray was suggesting, so. Oh, good, I would have appreciated one of those, it would save me the trip.
From what was approved, the home locations did change a little bit because of the buffer zones. The buffer zones, especially the vernal pool, 75-foot no-build zone from the wetland, edge of the wetlands, that was violated by the last plan, but they didn't know there was a vernal pool there at the time. So we've adjusted the dwelling locations, we've adjusted the dwelling footprint to reflect what Mr. Ray wants to build, for a home versus what was on the plan. So that's the major change. It's just the footprint, adjusted the driveways a little bit.
But even the footprint range, that's minimal.
Right. There were minor changes from what was approved before by the planning board.
The original footprint's the Christensen surgery plan?
Yes.
That's what I'm looking at.
Correct.
On Lot 2, the deck is shown really 76 feet away.
Correct.
And
Yep.
so the stairs and everything will be 76
Right.
feet away.
The stairs would come down and they'd go off to the side. They wouldn't go out to the back, so they'd stay at least 76 feet away too.
Sean, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Joe?
No, pretty straightforward. Both lots are served with sewer, so there's no septic issues at all
Right.
up there. And the soil stockpile is really just for, most of it's going to be hauled out, it's the backfill.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, as they dig the foundation, they'll pile it up and put it back around the foundation. There's not a lot of cutting and filling. I don't think it's pretty a neutral fill situation. There won't be a lot of hauling in or out. A little bit of loam will be stockpiled.
So even with the rain gardens, that's really just a BMP for the driveways themselves. The roofs are going to recharge.
Correct. Yep.
I mean, the groundwater's got to be pretty shallow out there anyway. You're probably not going to get a lot of recharge. It's just the best you can do.
Right. It's 3 or 4 feet. In the summertime it'll recharge, but in the springtime it'll be It's only 3 or 4 feet deep, probably perched.
Okay, I'm all set.
And that's a homeowners association thing?
No.
No?
No, these would be, although they're coming over a roadway layout, it will be a privately owned road. It will never be accepted by the town. Their access will be Mollytown. They'll have Mollytown addresses, and there'll be 2 separate dwellings, so.
I only have one question, Ben. Under Jen's recommendations, she would prefer to see less disturbance. This is a beautiful wooded area adjacent to state-owned land. It's got to be continued anyways, if we can save some trees. I don't know if we can, but if we can, she's not here to defend herself, so.
Right. You're the only, I love trees too, and these are all big pine trees, the white pines. So we leave a tree in the middle, you know it's going to fall down in the first big windstorm.
Okay.
You know, we'd be better off to plant some trees. I think we would agree to plant some trees. I know Mark, has no problem doing that.
All right, we'll just make a note of it for the next meeting.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because I'm sure she'll bring it up.
All right, I'll talk to her about it.
Thank you. Tim?
Also,
Doug? Motion?
To continue.
second.
Motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. Okay,
Thank you.
We'll see you in 2 weeks. Hopefully we get your DP number. All right, next one is 242, no number, 562 Boxford Street.
Would you like me to introduce it?
Pardon me?
Did you want me to introduce the
Yeah,
project?
yeah, if you want to.
So this is an existing house. The wetland delineation was reviewed with one minor change. The tree line shown on the plan that we originally got was a little bit off and should be a bit closer to the dwelling. Jen did communicate with them about that. ZBA approved changing the lot line a few years ago to allow for some more property on the upland side of the house. The project is also in front of the Board of Health right now. The property is in priority habitat, and we have not yet gotten a response from Natural Heritage. And we also, as you know, don't have the DEP file number. And there's some more information about the waiver requests, if you would like to review that now. They were requested because the bylaw regulations don't allow for the septic system within 100 feet of the ephemeral pool that's located nearby. And Jen wanted to recommend that if the waiver is granted, that perhaps the septic system could be located as far as possible and, pull out the plan, rotated at least partially outside of the 75-foot buffer zone.
Well, I'd like to, before we grant a waiver, I would like to see what the Board of Health approves first for a septic system.
Yeah, we would never act on the waiver until the Board of Health concluded.
Right, that's what I thought.
And it's
Okay.
going to be continued.
This is more administrative too. There's 2 documents from Christensen and Surgery signed by Philip, both of which refer to this project, but by reading the letter, if these would ever come out of the file and not end up back in the file, you'd have no idea where to put them. Makes no reference to address, doesn't make any reference to a DEP file number yet to be issued. So could ask Phil to resubmit these letters and, properly identify them.
Yep.
So, you can give a brief presentation, but the waiver we couldn't grant because we haven't got Board of Health approval. And so I would suggest that you continue.
Okay, yeah, there was a couple things that we'd like to address regarding Jen's comments.
Is that about us?
Yeah. this is
Cards,
just a
give
minute,
those
yeah.
to Sale, please.
So Jennifer and Kel had walked the site and had added a wet flag between wet flag number 143 and 144. However, this wetland was delineated back in 2014 as part of the Wellington Woods subdivision. and the wetland line was confirmed, and there's a open ORAD still existing on the wetland. Jennifer had mentioned that she had not reviewed this portion of the wetland. And getting the town's copy of the ORAD, there's a letter stating that Jennifer delineated the series all the way up to flag 148. So we're just a little confused on the changing of the wet flag that's under an open order of resource area delineation.
What was the number on that ORAD?
Actually, copy.
It was part of which subdivision?
The Wellington Woods, right next door.
This was Joyce Bradshaw's.
I remember this, and I even remember
Okay,
there being some
1640,
discussion
and
about
so
not
that
approving that
was,
line up in this area.
The last.
Do you live in?
I'm just looking for the date to see, because you stated that, well, the thing is, you know, orders of resource area delineation, I mean, they expire in, the same way that your orders do, but you don't close them out.
It's a gift and a curse at the same time, but a lot of us have been on the commission so long, we remember a lot of things, but we also forget some things. What I don't forget on this one is this area was very much discussed, and because it had not been confirmed, it was specifically excluded. This area was not approved. That line was not reviewed back then. I'm pretty certain of that.
I mean, just based on the letter from the town, it does include the wet flag all the way up to number 148, which would include the portion in question. I have a copy of it if you'd like to see it.
Well, we'll let you proceed with a quick presentation, but the line is going to be the line. It's always step one. Step two is got the Board of Health make their determination. Step three will be the waiver consideration, but it gives us time to go back and look at the old record. But boy, I've got a pretty good recollection about the area in the corner right at the entrance, and where there was going to be some open space dedication and how a trail was going to meander through. That area they did not get into because they decided to move the walking path elsewhere, that we didn't review that line, as I remember it.
Another question that I have, I'm just looking under her recommendations, and it says something about a well. You're putting well on these properties?
There's an existing well that they're looking to.
Well, the problem is that when the developer paved the front of Boxford Street for this subdivision, we insisted that he stubbed for water services for lots. So I think I'd be hard pressed to approve a well when there was town water in the street.
Okay, we're not really just looking, they're just looking to continue the use of the well. It's not changing, it's not, we're
Well, the
not.
well's hooked up to nothing right now, the old house?
Yes.
So this is kind of losing control of the focus here on my part. There are two lots out here, correct? That's before us now. One is a new proposed lot, or are they one and the same?
They're raising one house and
They knocked the
building
house down.
two.
There's an existing, this is an existing lot with an existing house. It was modified a few years ago. It kind of had like a strange triangular shape, and two lots were added down towards the left of the property before you get to Wellington. Those were added a few years ago. So this house is just an existing small house with an existing septic system and well on just one lot.
White house?
Yes.
Yep. And there's a second structure on that property?
No.
Okay.
Not yet.
No, we're looking to remove the house and build a new house. And then the other question, or
That's a leaching field. So I guess I get down to that little tangent, kind of trying to agree with what Lou said, that my recollection again was that they extended the water main down, put services in.
We made them put stubs in.
It's not ultimately, I guess it ultimately comes down to the DPW's discretion, but I don't think you can have a well when public water is available.
Right.
Except for irrigation purposes. So you might want to flush that out, because part of this filing might be to install the water service to this house.
Why would, just because there's a water main in the street,
somebody owns the land, they can't put a well on the property to
Only
serve
for
their
irrigation,
house?
only for irrigation purposes and
Who
public water.
says they can't do
I think it's
that?
a state law. I have to review that, I'm pretty sure it's a state law. If you've got public water available, you must use the public water and rely on well water only for irrigation purposes.
What a stupid law.
And the plumbing has to be separated, of course.
Like I
Pretty sure
said,
of it. I had to double check it.
yeah.
Yeah, I think so, because it doesn't sound rational. I'm not saying you shouldn't use public water, but there's some public water supply, the well water is a hell of a lot better than the public water supply.
But it has to be tested every year. Oh, whatever, in any case, so you need to continue because you know the questions that we've added.
Yes. I guess I have one more thing that I'd just like to discuss
Sure.
at this point, just so we know. As far as the ephemeral pool that is located within the wetland, Phil Christensen and I had walked the site, and we believe the pool may be a good distance away from this property. It may be technically on it. Cale, I'm not sure if you have a better understanding of where it is if you walked it with Jennifer. I guess our concern or question is that it may, in the regulations, it says the habitat extends 100 feet or to the BVW line. So if it's, within 90, 100 feet of a section of the BVW, it does not continue for the entire BVW, correct?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So this is a large wetland.
Yeah.
And I guess our question is, where we believe the pool may be a significant distance away, therefore not triggering the 75-foot no build and 50-foot no
I think our
disturb.
regulations, again, I'm reading more carefully, I haven't looked at it in detail in a long time. But I think if the ephemeral pool is defined as the pool itself
Yes.
and the buffer zone to that pool is part of the resource, therefore your setback is from the edge of the furthest distance out.
Exactly.
So it's
Yeah,
not.
exactly.
So what you just asked
So-
is not our interpretation or the intent of how it was written.
I guess the clarification would be, it says in the regulation, the habitat extends for 100 foot only if it's within a BVW or to the edge of the BVW line.
Well, when you
Bring that
say,
citation into the next meeting, because I don't believe that's what it says.
Okay.
yeah, and I think when you are using the word habitat, do you mean the buffer zone?
No, so it states that if the ephemeral pool is within a wetland, it has a 100-foot habitat, or it extends to the edge of the BVW line.
Okay.
So our question is, if it's 200 feet away from this site, it says that it has a 100-foot habitat, and then from that line or the BVW line, there's a 75-foot offset.
Yeah,
So I guess our concern is if it's 200 feet away, how, just based on the way the regulation reads, does that affect our setbacks at the front of the lot where it may not exist?
Well, I think that the kind of clarification that you're looking for is best discussed outside of the meeting,
Okay.
considering that you're wanting to continue anyway, because there's a lot of what ifs in your question. And-
Yeah, I guess-
And it's a very specific situation.
Speaks right to the
we can go-
question of the line being confirmed or not confirmed.
Exactly, yeah, well, and so with the what if, I can't really.
Yeah, I guess I was just looking for the commission's interpretation of the rule.
What you want to do is review the regulations, and
Yeah, because I guess I was looking to see what your feel was on it, because where we believe it is, it's very far back in the property, and it really won't affect the structure. It may affect the setbacks on the septic system, but the structure may be a different scenario. That's why I was looking just
So
to,
you're saying the ephemeral pool is much smaller than Wetland Series A?
so I have a larger plan. Just, so I mean, it extends well back here. And so where we believed it was about in this area. There was a small depression that seemed like it was large enough to be considered an ephemeral pool. So this line here would be 100 feet off of this. And the way we interpreted the regulations was there's a 100-foot habitat, or if that, once it hits the BVW line, that's where the habitat ends. And then there's a 75-foot. So based on that, I was assuming that this area of the wetland would not be considered part of the habitat because it's greater than 100 feet from the pool. Therefore, the setback would be from the 100-foot line or the BVW.
Well, is there currently a designation for the ephemeral pool?
well, that's up to the, no, that
There's
has.
not a
You mean,
delineation
well-
for the ephemeral pool.
Correct.
Yep.
As far as I know. I mean, it's
It's all-
not
it's all
designated as a
hyperbole.
vernal pool.
We have no resource area. This is not, shouldn't go any further than this discussion right now. Stop it. I don't think we've got a line. We don't know where the ephemeral pool is. We don't know the buffer zone.
It is not shown on the plan, and I was kind of
There's a
scratching my head over that as well.
Between what they think they got on an ORAD and what we think they got on an ORAD, that could be all smoked out and brought to the table definitively at the next meeting. And right now, we're spinning out wheels of, where's the pool, where it isn't.
Yeah, well, I'm just
Yeah,
trying to understand what he was talking about before. He's saying that ephemeral pool is a little pocket of this
No,
entire
that-
wetland series, is what he's saying, and it's way in the back, and I don't never really looked at an ephemeral pool other than as being the entire wetland series.
Well, because typically that is what we see. So the pool, taking a BBW, and one portion of that's just a little bit more sucker that meets the definition, when you're holding certain, there's a half acre foot of water and for so many months per year and so on and so forth, meets that definition. So from the edge of that's the pool.
Yeah.
But now the buffer zone extends out. So the habitat, if there was no buffer zone, if it's just a hole in the ground, the habitat extends out 100 feet.
But he wasn't showing it in the BVW, he was showing it as literally as part of the wetland area, I believe.
It was in part of the it was located in the BVW.
Not in the wetland itself.
No, but when it describes the ephemeral pool habitat, it states that it has to be within a BVW. Otherwise, it just has its own setback from the line if it were not located in the
Exactly,
wetland.
that's where I was getting.
I guess that's all I was looking for is a clarification, because that would remove some of our waiver requests, just clerically, so for the next meeting, I know which direction. I guess that's most of what I was looking to just clarify, because I just wanted to make sure we were moving in the right direction.
All right, so we need your opinion. Can I have a motion? So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's unanimous. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, the next one is 242, no number, 173 Campbell Road. Huh?
That was thrown them out. No line.
He's turning into, he's getting a couple, just get the check and run.
Now we have 173 Campbell.
171 Campbell Road is what we're looking for. Yeah.
Okay, so this is a proposal to construct an 11 by 12 foot addition on a slab in the location of where there had previously been a deck. There's a prior filing for garage and addition closer to the wetland. There's a potential potential ephemeral pool within the wetland, but was not noted in the prior filings, and so the 25-foot no disturbance, 50-foot no build zone applied during that filing. The contractor has presented a plan that is sketched and had requested a waiver of the requirement for the surveyed plan, and I have, there had been well, Jen asked if that was going to be a waiver for an as-built. I don't know if I want to go too much into the details because this has not received a DEP file number. But I will mention that although it was noted as being in natural heritage, it's no longer natural heritage based on the new 2017 maps. And it is not in floodplain because the area has received a letter of map change. So they're out of the floodplain. The addition is the same elevation as the garage, so it wouldn't affect the BLSF. And we got the updated plan with the erosion control and stockpile area via email today, and John has a hard copy if you guys would like to see that.
like these, this plan is. Okay, you can go ahead.
All right, so I'm Jonathan Wood, I'm the builder. We're proposing a single-story 11-foot by 12-foot master bathroom addition to the area pictured there, indicated by the red square with the slash marks through it. We would be excavating approximately 29 cubic yards of soil and trucking it immediately out, excavating it directly into the truck and stockpiling 2 cubic yards for backfill. I'm proposing that we use hay wattle along the property line there that is delineated by a stone wall indicated by the orange line right there, and whatever other erosion controls you guys recommend. And that's essentially it.
Any questions, but maybe some markers along the stone wall? It's about 20, looks like it's 25 feet away from the wetland just about, so it looks like a good spot for it.
Okay. Joe?
We, I guess the first thing we have to consider is the waiver request for plan submission.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a original house, an addition built back in 2008-ish, maybe just prior to that, which was with the survey plan. We had an as-built plan, part of this submission from that same era, and that showed an edge of wetland graphically, but no dimension to it, but it seems to be off-site. They're showing that the 11 by 12 addition tucked into that back right corner as you're looking at it from the front, with distances that are somewhat close, as close as 59 feet. Still a pretty good stretch beyond the 50. But do you feel that the line's far enough away that you're comfortable for the waiver? Because this would be...
Well, honestly, I wasn't prepared to advise on that. I'm just really presenting what Jen had stated to me, which she'd asked me to present. And the only real comment that she had was regarding whether you were inclined to grant the waiver. That doesn't, looking at the plan, I guess my personal opinion is that it is far enough away as long as there isn't any permanent disturbance in that area to put in the erosion control barrier. They could actually kind of bring the erosion control barrier closer to the work area so that instead of being along the stone wall where it's located on the plan, that it would be, as tight to the existing structure as reasonable so that they can have access to the area. I'd want them to have as little room for error as possible.
Okay, so to help me put that in context, the...
Sure.
Yep, that's what I was just looking at.
Okay, great.
That's what I was just looking at. The, help me put that in context. So, again, it's a small addition. It's a full frost wall foundation. You're going to get a small machine in there. You're going to dig it out.
Correct.
You're going to somehow load that out. You're going to get concrete for the foundation. You're not going to mix it by hand. You're going to get pumped in.
Correct.
You're going to pump it, or you're going to...
We're going to pump it around the corner, yeah.
You're going to pump it, and you're not going to be driving truck back
No,
there, because
right.
that's going to require you getting closer.
Correct.
Okay? And then the rest of it's pretty quick framing job.
Exactly.
Okay, and you're not proposing to alter the yard area any more than it already is?
No.
Okay.
Get rid of an exit. I know you're not gonna put one in the bathroom, but where is the second entrance gonna be?
Yeah, so this corner is in this, Louis, Mr. Napoli's showing me this photograph off the back.
I have a sketch of what...
That-
I have
seeing
that.
We're looking at that too. So this is proposed to go in that corner where the current back deck is?
Correct. It would be tucked right there in the footprint.
Where's
shown.
the,
Are we going to need another second means of egress somewhere else, and where is it going to go?
There would not be a second egress required, I don't believe, from that spot because it's close to the living room door that actually is right here, but not shown in the picture. Correct.
That door.
so we've got to eliminate that egress.
Right.
Okay, so where it's tucked into an existing building, even though it's closer than we normally would look, and if the wetland is pretty well defined, I think the waiver is reasonable.
Well,
At least
what should
possible.
we consider when, for a waiver?
Well, we're waiving the plan, the
Right.
plan submission requirement.
So why would we do that?
Show Sean this. First, because
So there's already an egress there now, and this new structure is going, the deck is coming off, and that's what's
Yeah.
going in its place.
Yeah.
So and they're tucking it all within the confines of for the most part, of the existing footprint, except they are enclosing it. It's clearly not a small project, which allows a
It's not an
relax,
RDA
which
either.
relaxes a plan requirement. It's not an RDA, which would also relax a plan requirement. So it gets them into a NOI, and now they're asking us to still, even though it's an NOI, to still relax the plan requirement.
And I don't know why we would do it for this one, but not the next one that was similar, and the next one was a little different, and all the way down the line. I mean, isn't there a reason why we have the as-built? I mean, do we have an actual plan that has a delineation on it currently?
No.
I agree,
I did
this
have a-
plan doesn't cut it.
Yeah. I mean,
Not
you
for
don't
an
need a
NOI.
delineation and showing a wetland line, and then,
We have an as-built plan from Tom Nevey Associates from May of 2003 that shows
doesn't show.
what at the time was a project to build an addition, which is the one we're looking at to the right there. And it only graphically shows the wetland line, doesn't define it by dimension.
And what I have going through my head now is, like Al always says, if somebody's gonna look at this later on, they're gonna say, what the heck? The diagrams don't tell the story that somebody's gonna need to know when they look at this later on without a delineation and an as-built.
I agree.
Well, let me ask, but you're the contractor.
Yes, sir.
You're gonna be pulling a building permit.
Yes.
Is the building department not gonna ask for a certified plot plan when it's done?
I don't think that they would. In this situation, I would try to use what's there now. So I did have the wetland delineated by a environmental consultant, and it's flagged out. And this triangulation shows that those measurements to each flag.
All right, so let's start with that. That's what you've done, and that's what you're currently comfortable with.
Correct. In
Kale,
reference
have
to
you
the
or Jen
wetlands.
confirmed that those setbacks are accurate? Do you agree with the line in the
Yeah,
setback?
agree with the line.
Well, do you agree with the setbacks?
I
Pull the tape.
I have not pulled the tape.
Sounds like El Nancy.
I mean, I have, and that's what this drawing shows. And I understand you have to confirm that.
But usually it's confirmed by somebody that
Right.
has a stamp and certifies it.
All right. So I understand the crux of the project, and I understand your approach to the project. I still have some reservation, if not great, at least some reservation on granting the waiver or not. We don't have a DEP file number, we're inclined to continue anyway.
Continue anyway.
I think what's pivotal in this is comfort with the line that's flagged, recently flagged, is it in fact the correct location? And if it is, then you're comfort with the pulled back dimensions, and if it is, then it gives us something a little more to consider the waiver. But right now, hearing what I hear, I have no inclination to grant it. So I consider it continue to the next
We're
meeting.
gonna go anyways, we don't have a DP number. But we should tell them that if we want a certified plan, we should tell them now.
I'm not saying I need that yet. I mean, Sean might be prepared to say that now, but, to answer those other questions is going to help me better formulate my position on the waiver. Right now, I'm on the fence.
Wait, so I think, if
And
I
it's not a
understand
silt fence.
correctly, it's, what you're looking for is a plan that, rather than this, you're actually showing it's a scale. We're showing the actual location in
50
relationship.
to 100.
Yeah.
Let's say that differently. Right now, we're asking for a submission that complies with the regulations. And anything less than that, we need to be convinced of.
Okay.
And right now, I don't have enough information
No,
on
then
that.
why don't they have to notify abutters?
I've done that. I
Yeah.
have the.
Yeah.
Oh, you have the abutters card?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Okay.
Yep. And as I understand it, the only thing that they were asking for to be waived was the surveyed plan requirements. That's the only thing.
Well, it seems to me that this plan can be confirmed in the field.
It's not leaning that way to say, well, maybe.
Okay,
this-
then I don't have an issue with it. If you're satisfied that this is the wetlands and the flags are correct, and then the only other question that Sean said, somebody with a license has to take the measurements, otherwise we don't trust it. You know, then you can't take the measurements because you don't have a license. I'm sorry, you're not an engineer with a license, or a surveyor, we can't trust your measurements. Sean can't do it.
I'm going to try.
Joe can do it.
I'm going
I
to try
can
to.
do it,
I'm going to
but
try to
none of the
box
others
it.
can do
I'm going
it.
to try to box it in right where it is. I'm not so much concerned about this application. I'm concerned about the other 1,000 people who are going to come forward and say, I don't need a plan either. That's what I'm really concerned with.
Yeah, well, I think also too, with, you know, I have a concern that we make people go out and spend a lot of money in needless effort. And, you know, just because, you know, to have a surveyor come out here and do this, to give us a plan, I think it's a waste of money, and it's a waste of the client's money and stuff like that. I know you don't give a shit.
Oh, I do, absolutely. That's exactly the premise from which we created the small project. So maybe the discussion ought to focus on create a small project type M on project with a previous file with a certified as-built plan on record, and the work is non-significant, and, you know, define it in a certain way and box it into a small project. Then it's not a waiver, it fits that mold, but right now, it fits the mold of an NOI. And I see it that way.
Well, they didn't file it under a small project.
But I'm willing to let these next 2 weeks go by to go out there and verify
this.
this.
Small project, it's an addition.
It's not a small project, doesn't meet any of those criteria.
And I have to say that I just wanted to be clear, and I think you got this, but I did go out to the site, and these seem to be good. I'm not sure, honestly, maybe I should recall if Jen told me she pulled tape or not. But I just want to be sure that I did say that I had gone out to the site, and Jen had gone out to the site, reviewed the flags themselves. They look good, and the distances seem relatively accurate to me.
So the circumstances,
But-
we couldn't close anyway, we have to continue for lack of a number, so it really, there is a 2-week opportunity to help address those questions. If we can pick it up at the next meeting.
Is there something that I can do in the meantime to give you information that you're looking for, or is it strictly bureaucratic? Excuse me?
Get us a certified plot plan.
Okay. Is that being asked of me officially
Well,
to do that, or?
The thing of it is that we try and be consistent.
I understand.
I mean, it's
I
a
do.
small project, and I agree. However, it's an NOI, and an NOI requires a certified plan with the 25, that's stamped by an engineer, designated 25, the 50, and the 100. And you know, and I don't want to be insulting, but this don't make it. Because if we had these kind of...
It's not bad, but it doesn't make it.
It's not bad, but it doesn't make it.
It doesn't make me a certified
And the thing-
engineer.
For wetland purposes.
There's no question you could build it from there, there's no question.
The thing of it is that if we have everybody drawing plans
I
and
understand.
submit them, I mean, granted, yours is small. It's still an NOI. I mean, we had a guy here with the 2-house subdivision. He had to come in with, he had an engineer here making a presentation. You don't have to do that, but at least if you give us a plan to look at, and say, well, we're not sure, and there might be 59 feet, but we're not sure. And you're asking for a waiver for a plan. It doesn't sit well with me.
There's a reason why we have these minimum requirements, because, you know, the town has limited resources. You can't go ahead and have everybody come in with their own drawing as to what's there and try to have it submitted.
And
So
like
I think
Doug
it's very
says,
reasonable. It's not
We
to,
could send Kale out there to say that the flags are what they are, but she's not a wetland scientist per se, or an engineer that can verify where the flags are. I mean, she can guess to me.
Right.
But
So specifically, we're talking about the dimensions and not the,
where the addition sits on the
in
plot,
reference to
on the land,
the verified.
to the wetlands,
Right.
you need a certified plot plan.
You do not need to survey the entire lot and
Just
all
have
of the
him do
topography.
that.
Just, within the regions of where your driveway and access will be and where the addition is and where the wetlands are. Everything between those areas is the only place it would need to focus on. So we're not talking acreage, we're not talking anything that an engineer might want to sell you beyond what you need.
Right.
It's only that small area.
So my understanding is that the scientist is necessary to delineate the.
But you did, you did that. You did
So that's a good line that I can now have measured.
You
correct?
had a scientist do it?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, can I ask who it was?
LEC Environmental in Wakefield, right? I have
What's his name?
They've
Should
submitted reports
remember
before.
it. It was,
Richard Kirby, LEC Environmental, out of Wakefield.
yeah, Richard Kirby.
Yeah, they've submitted to us before. So yeah, it sounds to me that the line is, in his opinion, accurate. You don't, from what you've seen flagged out there, you don't disagree with that.
Correct.
So it sounds like you're halfway there.
Okay.
The other piece of it, just pick up the survey.
And then mark the 100, 50, and 25 from that line.
Yes, from the wetlands.
Okay. And have that ready for the next.
For the next meeting. It will be very, very helpful for you.
Then the waiver request goes away.
Then the waiver
Now you've
request
submitted,
goes
now
away.
you've submitted a plan that meets
I
the
understand.
regulation.
Yeah.
And is there still an existing concrete foundation out there?
No. Well, there's a couple footings from the deck that will come out when I.
No, you're talking about the front yard.
Yeah, I'm talking about the front yard that's shown on this diagram. It shows that.
Yes, that's their garage. It's a two-stall garage and the driveway access is right here.
Gotcha.
All right, so we need a motion to continue to the next meeting.
It would be nice to have a drawing of what the place looks like now, or afterwards, but I mean, this one that doesn't show the driveway, doesn't show the garage there, I just don't think it cuts it.
Well, John, now's the time to ask, tell him that he wants to know what he needs.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it pretty clearly, right? I mean, I'm absolutely not moving on that position this week or next week or whatever.
Okay. So we're gonna want an engineered plan of the house and the driveway, right? You want the driveway too?
Well, the area where the access comes in, the area that's going to be affected as part of this project, from the wetland line up
And
to,
specifically, I'm sorry, but it's shown in that picture right there, exactly the area. that-
pretty much that, and then around the back where the project itself is.
Okay.
And that's a relaxation of the full filing requirement that we might consider, but it's not a full-blown survey of everything. But it does, we have allowed people to focus to show us, even the pool people that were in earlier, show us just where you're working, just that area.
Right.
And that one we considered. Of course, because the lack of information wasn't as clear as it could have been. This one's more clear than that.
All right, so you know what you need?
Pretty much, yeah. So I'll have that specific area with access.
And if you need some guidance, see the office.
You're in all the rest of this week, Hale, and Jen's back next week, right? The two of you, so yeah.
So go back next week before you spend some money.
Short week next week. You're only working 3 days?
Well, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, out Thursday, and then back in on Friday.
Oh, really?
We're open
Yeah,
for, all right.
yeah.
All right. We're tough.
Not me.
All right, so if you have any doubt at all what you need, go to the office and they'll, because
Yeah, stop by the Friday after Thanksgiving, I'm sure they'll be really helpful there.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Next one is request to continue to November 29th, an enforcement order on 981 John Street. That's the wall in the backyard.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. We have an enforcement order on 458 Johnson Street.
You guys brothers?
You look alike.
458 458 Johnson Street. Oh, that's,
I also recommended that be continued until spring. She stated that she reviewed the wetland marker locations with the homeowner, and they still need to get some additional plantings in, which will need to be postponed until spring.
when is this enforcement order good till?
What's that?
When's the enforcement order good till?
When does it currently expire?
Yeah.
I don't, she recommended continuing until May 9th.
Yeah, Jen has a real
Specifically.
date there. There must be significance of that.
Yeah, May 9th.
So this is 458 Johnson Street she wants to continue?
This is 458 Johnson.
Okay. Motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. Next one is 242 for general business, 1715. COC request for 127 Tucker Farm Road. Lisa got it.
So Tucker Farm. It was constructed in compliance with the order conditions. The site stabilized. The majority of the junk had been removed, although there was still a small area of debris. The wetland markers have not been yet installed. The erosion controls have not been removed. We had gone out last week and made those notes, and then I went out again today. And the markers aren't there. The erosion controls have not been removed either. So
We don't have to continue. What we can do is we can hold the COC request until that stuff is done.
So grant it and hold the issuance to it until we get those things?
Yeah.
No,
Instead of having continuing.
no. It has to be done. The
We've
work
done
has
that
to be
before.
done.
We've held the
Yeah, but-
COC.
But Sean doesn't like that.
Sean doesn't like that?
Neither do you, apparently.
Neither do I.
Why would we do that? Is this,
Well, we've done that before, but we don't have to. You
I
can-
don't like
We can
that.
continue.
Continue.
All right, motion can
I
continue.
thought that was gonna deny it.
Were you?
All right, we have a motion and
Project
a,
isn't complete, so
No.
continue it.
Yep,
all right, so we have a motion. Who's seconding it?
I'll second it.
Sean
All right,
is.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous.
right, then we've got another request for certificate of
242-1661.
compliance. I'm sorry?
242-1661, 95 Lyons Way.
Yep. Same deal, pretty much. Site stable, plantings have been installed as required, except, well, I mean, actually, it's in better shape. The question about this one was the commissioners had approved a plan showing a planting in the area between flag A8 and A11. Now, there was some existing landscaping, and Maureen from Norse, and I'll get the plan for you. When I noted that it didn't show them being installed on the as-built, I asked Maureen about it, and she stated that she had spoken to the homeowner several months ago and told the homeowner that she didn't need to put them in because of this existing landscaping, which is right behind where the wetland marker was posted accurately. So, and I spoke to the homeowner today, and she stated, I went out and did another site visit, she stated that Jen had told her that it was okay to leave the existing landscaping and not put in the additional plants that were required under the record plan.
Find
So-
that out.
I'm going to motion to continue that. We need clarification on that.
Second.
We would,
Yeah.
if it was ever at all in debate, we wouldn't specifically added it in to our condition.
Yeah.
And then turn around and waive it, turn around and say, never mind.
Okay, we have a motion.
I want to
and-
verify that.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. 242-1627, extension request lots 54 and 53 Great Pond Road.
Okay. Jen recommended extending the order for 1 additional year. She stated that the only component of the project remaining is the paving.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Well, that's extension. And we have another one, 242, 1633, extension request for 1160 Great Pond Road, Brook School.
Okay, and same thing, she recommends granting a 1-year extension.
That's the seawall.
Sorry?
Seawall, yeah.
Yeah, they only built 2
Yep.
places.
Yeah.
Must ran out of money. Okay, you need
So
a
in
motion.
compliance otherwise, right? Yeah, all set. Move that we grant the 1-year extension as requested and recommended.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And that's adjourned. We have no decisions, so we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And that's unanimous.
Thank you.
We're good.